Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Track. It's getting busy. We're getting towards the later end of the window now, so things are certainly heating up, and they are heating up at West Ham United. A few names could be in the door, could be 3 names in the door by the end of next week at the going rate. Pete's here with me. We're going to discuss all things West Ham and what has been a big day. A fee finally agreed for James Ward-Prowse, key target for David Moyes. Been a lot of hard work to get this deal done. We'll discuss that as well. Maybe some outgoings too at the club and potential for another striker to come in the door as well, with Scamacca heading out to Italy. Antonio's future still up in the air also. So a lot to get into. But first and foremost, Pete, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, Fraser. Thank you very much. We're just over 3 weeks left of the window now. So it's really going to move into action now. I think clubs will be going through their lists of targets, trying to get deals over the line, and the Premier League obviously kicks off this weekend as well. So they will be keen to get as many players in the building as possible, and I do expect it to start ramping up now, the transfer activity in the Premier League and all across Europe as well as Saudi, as we well know as well. But things are going to get busy now, mate. So lots to be done.
For sure, a lot to be done indeed. So let's start with James Ward-Prowse. It is the breaking news. It is the pressing news. Like I've been reporting, the deal was never off. Someone reported the deal was off. My understanding was that was never the case. It was never off. West Ham were always rejected bids, but not out of hand. The door was always open, Pete, for the conversation. And also, you see Stellar, who are James Ward-Prowse's agency, were continuing to push on with this and try and get a deal through and done. He wanted back in the Premier League. Big loss for Southampton, Pete, but we did expect James Ward-Prowse would leave Southampton. As soon as they got relegated, you're talking about a player who's one of the best set-piece takers in the world at this point in time, and an elite footballer. So a good snag for West Ham if everything goes well from this point forward, but we would expect that James Ward-Prowse will be a West Ham player.
Yeah, I fully expect Ward-Prowse to seal this move to West Ham. As you said, he's been a top target for David Moyes throughout the summer transfer window. Again, they've had a few issues trying to agree a fee with Southampton, with a couple of bids rejected earlier in the window as well. But it seems a broad agreement is now agreed between both clubs for around 30 million plus add-ons. I think it's a good deal for both clubs. Southampton have got a good deal for Ward-Prowse, who's 28, was never going to really stay in the Championship with Southampton, unfortunately for them. And for West Ham, it's a big signing, a statement signing for them as well. I think he's a top performer in the Premier League. He looks perfect for David Moyes' side as well, who are always very strong from set pieces. So he will add to that armory for West Ham as well. He will score goals, provide goals, and at 28 now, I think it's a great move for James Ward-Prowse if he wants to sort of establish himself and become a mainstay in that Gareth Southgate's England squad as well. He needs to be playing Premier League football, which will be on offer at West Ham as well. So I think it's a good deal for both clubs. Southampton have stood their ground, rejecting those earlier bids, and they've got what they wanted for the player, and the player eventually gets what he wants as well, as a move back to the Premier League.
Yeah, we knew that Ward-Prowse wanted that move. Again, some reports suggesting that he wanted to stay at Southampton. I'm sorry, Southampton fans, I don't mean to do this to you, but my understanding was Premier League was always going to be the priority for Ward-Prowse, and he is about to leave. How much does he impact this West Ham team, Pete? Because this is a team, we spoke about this before, haven't we, about the impact he can bring with set pieces, and certainly in that kind of attacking third. They lacked goals last season. Wasn't just strikers. He can certainly add a few, certainly from the set piece situation.
Yeah, 100%. He will definitely add goals and creativity to this West Ham side. From midfield, his corner kicks are second to none in the Premier League as well. So West Ham are so strong from set pieces, I think, as well. So you'll definitely see a few goals scored from corners by West Ham this season as well. And then once you get a free kick on the edge of the box, there's no better player that you'd want on it than James Ward-Prowse, who's gunning for that David Beckham record as well. So I think he will definitely score goals. He will provide goals for West Ham as well. But it's not just that. I think he's obviously very underrated, I think, as well. He's a leader. He was captain of Southampton, and I think he'll bring that to the West Ham dressing room as well, who've obviously lost a big figure in Declan Rice. So it'd be good to have Ward-Prowse in there as well, with his leadership qualities and his experience. Once he gets his feet under the table at West Ham, I think he'll be a big player for the club going forward.
Yeah, certainly, I agree. He is underrated. He's not just his set pieces. He did a lot more than that. He was one of the best for progressive passes. He was key pass king for Southampton and all their chance creation as well. So he brings flair, creativity, and leadership, Pete, as well back to that squad, because they've just lost Declan Rice. So it's a big deal for them. Let's move back a little bit. We'll go to Scott McTominay next because talk's ongoing for McTominay and Maguire, but we'll focus on McTominay first. This deal a little bit slower than Harry Maguire at this point in time, we understand. Maybe a reluctancy for Manchester United to perhaps release him as quickly because they want to get Amrabat in the door first as well. You're looking around the £35 million mark for Scott McTominay, but David Moyes has made it very, very clear he really wants his counterpart, his Scottish counterpart, in the club as soon as they can do it.
Yeah, obviously David Moyes is a huge fan of Scott McTominay. He thinks he could be the ideal midfield partner for James Ward-Prowse in the new look West Ham midfield next season as a replacement for Declan Rice. They need to fill the void left by his departure to Arsenal. I think it's a hard deal to get done, this one myself. Manchester United's valuation of McTominay is 45 million right now, and that is too rich for West Ham. They don't want to go anywhere near as high as that one. So unless there's a compromise met and West Ham can come to an agreement with Manchester United, I think this deal probably off the table right now as well. I don't see West Ham going to 45 million. And as you said, Manchester United won't sanction a departure for Scott McTominay until they bring in some midfield reinforcements of their own, with Sophie and Amrabat a top target for United as well. And if other midfielders were to leave before the close of the window, like Fred, Donny van de Beek, Erik ten Hag might be minded to keep Scott McTominay at Old Trafford as well, because he will need him with Champions League football and all the other competitions to be played next season as well. So yeah, I think unless that 45 million price tag is met, I don't think West Ham will be able to get this deal for Scott McTominay done.
A couple of more midfielders to look at quickly. Edson Alvarez is set to confirm his move to West Ham. That's set to be all done and dusted, Pete, as well. He will be in the door. That kind of replaces that Declan Rice figure in the defensive mid position. Yeah,
top player Edson Alvarez. He was linked with Chelsea in the January transfer window, so it shows the quality that Edson Alvarez has got. Top international as well, played at the highest level for Mexico, was very impressive in the summer for them. In the Gold Cup as well, played Champions League football with Ajax. So yeah, top performer. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Premier League. Yeah, he's a player that West Ham have been chasing for most of the summer as well. Borussia Dortmund were also in the race for him as well. So yeah, a big sign in this one for West Ham. As you said, he will fill that defensive role in the West Ham midfield and fill the boots of Declan Rice as well. So a lot of pressure on Edson Alvarez to come in and hit the ground running for West Ham as well. But yeah, I think with his pedigree and I think with his real desire to be successful in the Premier League, I think he could be a big signing for West Ham. And as I said, I think really looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the Premier League.
Yeah, and he is a big signing, Pete, you're right, because he has been wanted by big clubs. He's also played Champions League football with Ajax. He's got a lot of experience. He's a full international and really, really good as well. So a good deal for West Ham. Let's talk about Lucas Paqueta, a player that West Ham brought in for quite a lot of money. Big signing, but Manchester City are eyeing him up, Pete, and there could be something here where they sell Paqueta, and I know they've brought the £105 million in for Declan Rice, but would David Moyes be thinking, let's sell him and that'll allow me to fund a little bit more coming in? I'm unsure myself on this, to be honest, Pete. I've seen reports that they are keen to let him go for less than £85 million to Manchester City, but he was a big player to be brought in. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but he's certainly a player that's got bags of ability. And you think he goes to City and Pep Guardiola turns him into prime Ronaldinho or something, you know, so it's one of those kind of risks that you take, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real difficult one for West Ham, this one that Manchester City's interest has now surfaced for Lucas Paqueta. Top player. I think he obviously struggled initially when he arrived, but showed in the second half of last season what a top player he is. He was instrumental in their success in the Europa Conference League. A classy player as well. If you're a neutral fan, you'd love to watch a player like Lucas Paqueta. And as you said, when Manchester City come calling, it's pretty hard to resist the opportunity to go and join the treble winners. Also the chance to work under Pep Guardiola and really improve you as a player as well. So that's going to turn Lucas Paqueta's head right now as well. West Ham, they've obviously got him on a long-term contract. They did spend big money, over £50 million on him to sign him from Lyon last summer. So they won't let him go without a fight. They will demand top money for him to go. In an ideal world, David Moyes would like to keep him. He wouldn't want to lose Declan Rice and Lucas Paqueta in the same transfer window. And it's not really like West Ham need the money after getting that big money deal from Arsenal for Rice. So it's a hard one. It's going to be difficult for West Ham to keep hold of him now. Manchester City's interest has come from Paqueta because I'm sure the player would be excited at the opportunity of joining Pep Guardiola's side as well. So this one could go late on into the window with Manchester City ready to pounce and try and lure the player to the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, that's the reality for Paqueta for West Ham. Is unfortunately, if Pep Guardiola comes knocking at the door, players are usually pretty keen to make the move, Pete, because you've almost kind of got a guarantee of at least one trophy next season, really. We know Manchester City are going to win something, so it kind of works out that way. We'll wait and see. I mean, maybe Paqueta going, Pete, allows them to push that McTominay bid to the 40 mark, perhaps, where there will be a compromise. But we know that 40 mark is the compromise for Harry Maguire. So as I put out last night, these talks have really advanced over the last 24 hours. West Ham at a starting fee of around that 30 to 35 mark, and moving up to 37 perhaps, but it will be add-on related things to potentially get it over to the 40. I am absolutely no expectation of West Ham slamming £40 million down on the table straight away. We'll see how this looks, but that's progressing. Salary has been the major stumbling block for a lot of clubs with Maguire, but West Ham feel they can get something over the line here, Pete.
Yeah, again, Harry Maguire has been a top target for David Moyes. Obviously, his future at Manchester United is really uncertain. It doesn't look like he has got a long-term future there after having the captaincy stripped from him this summer with Bruno Fernandes taking over. I think for Maguire, he was in no rush to leave Manchester United, so it would have to be the right project. I think David Moyes has sold that project to him now with what West Ham are trying to do. And Maguire, for his sake, needs to be playing regular first-team football. The season coming up for a big summer next season for England as well. He'll want to keep his place in Gareth Southgate's starting 11. So I think it's a good deal for all parties involved. Manchester United get some money for Harry Maguire that they can maybe reinvest in the squad elsewhere. While for West Ham, they get a proven Premier League player, a proven player who's played at the highest level for club and country. And again, another big figure in that dressing room. He's got great experience. He's been captain of Manchester United. He's won so many caps for England. So he'll be a good figure in that dressing room. And again, will add his voice in that dressing room following the departure of Declan Rice as well. So yeah, I think it's a good signing for West Ham. It makes them stronger defensively. And again, if you add Harry Maguire and James Ward-Prowse, you could expect a few goals from Harry Maguire next season, probably from set pieces if both of those deals do get done, because he is very effective in both boxes when either defending or attacking set pieces as well. So yeah, I think for West Ham, it's a good deal. They really didn't want to spend more than £30 million on Maguire as well, but they're getting an England international for £30 million and I think a player with great Premier League experience. So yeah, it's a good deal for West Ham.
And it does what he was at Leicester. You feel like he could become again at West Ham under David Moyes, and that system manager who will use him isn't so fussed about him being a ball-playing defender and pinging the ball about here and there, just wants him to defend, Pete. And I think that's where you'll see the best of Harry Maguire again. He's obviously been a man that's come under extreme scrutiny, as everyone does in a Manchester United shirt, I suppose. But with the new kind of forward-thinking, progressive football, ball-playing football, it's certainly maybe been the wrong move for him at the wrong time. And I think he will come back to his best in a West Ham shirt under David Moyes. You can see that fitting perfectly. Also, you heard it here first, Pete, saying that James Ward-Prowse and Harry Maguire will rival Kevin De Bruyne and the Erling Haaland for the best partnership in goals as well. I can see it, Pete. I can see those balls coming in the box and the man known as the fridge heading them into the back of the net for sure. But Moyes would get the best out of Maguire, Pete, is my point.
Yeah, I think David Moyes knows all about Harry Maguire, and he'll be confident that he can get Maguire back to his best, what he showed when Man United spent that record fee on him from Leicester City as well. And I think Harry Maguire will be motivated to maybe prove a few critics wrong, as he's coming for so much intense criticism during his last few seasons at Manchester United and also when playing for England as well. So I think the move to West Ham will suit Harry Maguire. There'll be less of a spotlight probably on him than there was when he was captain of Manchester United, and less pressure as well when you're not playing for Manchester United. No offense to West Ham, but you're always in the spotlight, and any little mistake does get scrutinised. So he can go there, hopefully enjoy his football and get back to what he was shown when he was at Leicester and England, what a top centre-half he was. And I'm sure that's what David Moyes is hoping he can get out of him as well.
And who knows, you might just see Harry Maguire lift the Europa League for West Ham. You never know what could happen. You know, he could be a great move. Let's look at an outgoing here, Pete. You had a report out about Cresswell there during the week. Why don't you update some West Ham fans on that report, if you could?
Yeah, I think West Ham are open to selling Aaron Cresswell before the close of the transfer window. They've already rejected one offer from Wolves of around £2.5 million. It was obviously any deal might be held up now following the recent departure of Julian Lopetegui, but I do believe that where Wolves are still interested in the left back, and they are ready maybe to make an increased offer for Cresswell, who is in the final year of his contract at the London Stadium. So West Ham are willing to let him move on as long as they do bring in a replacement at left back as well. So a move away from the London Stadium could still be on the cards for Aaron Cresswell before the close of the transfer window. Wolves still in there and looking at it, and maybe a compromise could be reached between 3 to 4 million for the former switchman. And I do expect maybe Wolves to step up their interest in Cresswell once they get their managerial situation sorted out, with Gary O'Neill expected to replace Lopetegui at Molineux.
Yeah, I mean, a really weird situation at Wolves. Certainly, they're a sense of tough season ahead, Pete. But maybe they've seen the Gary O'Neill effect at Bournemouth, and they're thinking, do you know what? We'll get him in, and he'll save us. Lopetegui has left. Just, I know this is a sidetrack from West Ham. Lopetegui left. There was frustration with all the players that left, lack of movement in the market, and I don't think there's been any surprise from any of us journalists or really anyone that he left, Pete. I think we've seen that kind of coming a mile off, to be honest. And that happened yesterday. Cresswell was a target for them. But let's just move right back up the other end of the pitch quickly, Pete, to finish off. Striker's always the most exciting thing, but West Ham have got a bit of a striker issue here because Scamacca's away to Atalanta. That deal is done. And then, of course, we're looking at Antonio, who looks like he could be heading out the door. Number of suitors for him as well. Where are West Ham looking at? Well, you have some names that are coming in, some interest, like likes of Hugo Ekiteke, who's at PSG, of course. Then you have El Wahi, who's a player who's come up quite a lot, Pete. But this is an area that they need to strengthen, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It is an issue for West Ham. Now Scamacca's gone back to Italy with Atalanta. Mikel Antonio, lots of speculation over his future with the Jamaican international into the final year of his contract at West Ham right now as well. He could be on the move. So that would leave West Ham really short of attacking options. It would leave them with Danny Ings and Jared Bowen. And I'm sure David Moyes doesn't want to go into the season with just maybe two striking alternatives if Antonio does join Scamacca in exiting the London Stadium. So yeah, it does look like they're looking at the French market right now. As you said, Hugo Ekiteke of PSG is somebody who's been a long-term target for West Ham. They were interested in this young striker before he did make that move to PSG, but he hasn't had much of a go at PSG, obviously, with the world-class superstars in front of him in that attacking lineup as well. So
he's still young as well, though, Pete, isn't he, Ekiteke? Could he be the man to come in and actually lead the line? It's a lot of pressure for someone who's not really played much.
Yeah, it's big pressure, but I think he's a top player. He's obviously a very good player of PSG or signing you. Newcastle also tried to sign him as well. So yeah, he's got the pedigree, and I'm sure he would be confident that he could come in and lead the line for West Ham next season if they do firm up their interest as well. Also, El Wahi from Montpellier had a great season last year in Ligue 1, is another target that West Ham are looking at. Tim Steidten is a big admirer of the forward as well, but there's also the issue that Chelsea are trying to sign him and then possibly loan him out to Strasbourg. So that's going to be a difficult deal to do as well. While Habib Diallo from Strasbourg, the Senegal international, he's been somebody who's been on West Ham's radar after his goal-scoring exploits in Ligue 1 last season as well. So he's another one I'm sure that's on that West Ham list right now. But yeah, I think once West Ham get these deals for Maguire and Ward-Prowse and Alvarez done, they're going to have to pull full focus on maybe bringing in a new striker.
Yeah, West Ham do face competition for Diallo as well, Pete. Nottingham Forest and Brentford and a number of other clubs like him as well. So, but perhaps if they've got that European football, people see deals getting done. I think that also helps when players see other players coming in. They see Ward-Prowse going, Maguire, potentially McTominay. That will also help as well. So, anyway, big couple of weeks ahead for you West Ham fans. Get excited. You've got one nearly in the door, nearly. I know it's pretty much done, but we'll just say nearly for James Ward-Prowse, Harry Maguire talks moving forward. Edson Alvarez in the door too. Scott McTominay talks ongoing at this point in time, and a potential striker too. Busy weeks ahead, Pete. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks again, folks, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.